Hi YouTube. Today I wanted to talk about my old job at the bookstore and also my first rejection, which was one of my coworkers, and why you should never ever ask out your coworkers, because 9 out of 10 times it's probably not going to end up well for you. So before I get ahead of myself, I'm just going to start from the beginning. So back in 2021, this was when I was 18 years old and I had just graduated from high school. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, so I ended up getting a job at my local Barnes & Nobles, and I got hired there. It was, I want to say, around like October, and I got hired as a seasonal worker, and there was a couple other employees that also got hired at the same time. One of them was the girl that I ended up having a crush on, and just for the sake of the video, we'll call her Ellie. That's not her real name, obviously. So yeah, Ellie got hired around the same time I did, and I remember the first time I ever talked to her, it was pretty awkward. I remember it was like my third day on the job, and it was her first day. She started a bit later than I did, and she was being trained by one other employee, and I remember seeing them, and I saw her, and I like instantly thought she was like really cute. And because of that, I ended up going up and trying to strike up a conversation with them, but I think my timing was just really bad, because like she was being trained, and I just walked up and just started like autistically trying to talk, just like interrupting whatever they were doing. I probably shouldn't have done that, which is why it became kind of awkward. So I ended up walking up, and I don't remember what I said exactly. I think I said something like, "Oh, you guys are learning so-and-so today." And then it just got like, they both got quiet and just looked at me. And then after like a couple seconds of silence, Ellie said something and like introduced herself to me. I introduced myself, and we started working together after that, and I slowly started developing a crush on her. And the reason for this was because she was just a really nice and pleasant person to be around, at least on the surface. I would later find out that it was all a facade, but she was probably one of the first girls in my entire life that showed me any sort of, I guess, respect, and was someone that was pleasant to be around and was just like overall just nice to me. And that was what made me start falling for her, was because she was the first girl that was like genuinely nice to me. And I should have known that she wasn't actually interested in me, because this was just how she was with everyone. She would treat other people the same way that she treated me, and I guess props to her, she was being fair, but it made my very naive 18-year-old self think that I was special when I really wasn't. It really was the age-old meme of, she doesn't like you, bro, she's just being nice, which is true. I mean, I pretty much experienced this firsthand. So after a couple months of working together, I got to know her a bit more, and eventually I mustered up the courage to ask her out, and this took a lot for me. I remember there'd be so many days when we'd be on the same shift, we'd get off at the same time, and I would just be like standing and waiting around, just like trying to finally do my approach, and I just wouldn't do it. But eventually I got tired of letting this like anxiety eat at me, and I just went for it. I remember it was one night we were working a closing shift together, and what would happen was the store would close at 8 o'clock, but the employees would stay another half hour just doing some cleaning up, like packing orders, making sure that the store was ready for the openers in the morning. And during this time, I decided to go up to her and ask her to hang out after work, which was probably not good timing because it's fucking 8 at night and you're asking to hang out after work. Like, that's kind of I guess when it's coming from someone who looks like me, it's probably seen as creepy or weird, but who knows. And once I asked her out, she gave like a polite rejection. She just told me that she was busy and that she couldn't make it. And this was when I should have taken the hint that she wasn't really interested in me, but I was so naive that I didn't. I just thought that I had to be more persistent to get what I wanted, and this was when things started going south. So like a couple days later, I ended up asking her out again, and this time she gave like a more firm rejection. Basically just flat out told me that she doesn't go out with her coworkers, which I later found out was just BS. She was making a rule for me, but then later breaking it for Chad. And this really stung. This was probably like my first real rejection, and I just felt really depressed for a couple of days. But thankfully I eventually got over it, and a part of me like felt good that I finally did something, I guess a bit courageous. Like, that did feel good, I'm not gonna lie, but at the same time the pain of the rejection was far more powerful than the respite from my courage. And after this, things kind of at least I thought things kind of went back to normal, but they didn't. She ended up going and telling everybody at the workplace that I was trying to get with her, and and this made things really awkward for me because it pretty much just ended up poisoning the well. And this was because a lot of the people that I worked with, I'm not sure if you guys ever walked into Barnes & Noble and seen the employees, but they're a very peculiar type of people. The LG HDTV people. And because of this, they would take this kind of situation, not in the healthiest ways, and because of that they started like treating me weirdly, and it was kind of awkward all the time. And Ellie also, she kind of kept me at a arm's length and wasn't as friendly as she was before. And I remember she stayed there for a couple more months, and I remember this was around the time that I met the Ramona Flowers girl. She was actually a customer. She had came in to the store, and she was returning a book, and she came up to me, and I was cashiering that day, and in the time that I was processing her return, she just started like interrogating me and just like asking me a lot of like really personal questions, and I was just like stun locked, and I just like didn't know what to say because, well, I was just caught off guard because when you're at work, you're kind of like in almost like this like autopilot like flow state where all you're thinking about is just doing your job and you're not really thinking about anything else. And this especially happens in like retail where, you know, the stores are busy all the time. So it really caught me off guard. But after I processed her return and she left, Ellie was actually also cashiering with me. She was standing next to me, and she ended up telling me that this girl actually really liked me and that I should have like asked for her number and stuff. And that was when it hit me. I was like, wait a minute. She's right. Like this like Ramona Flowers girl was giving a lot of choosing signals, but I didn't pick up on it because I'm an autistic retard. So I ended up wrapping around and leaving the cashiering area because I noticed that the Ramona Flowers girl, she didn't immediately leave the store after doing her business. She went and was looking for new books. So I wrapped around and spoke to her briefly, and I ended up getting her Instagram. And I thought this was just gonna be the end of it, but it wasn't. So the Ellie girl, shortly after this event, she ended up quitting. And I remember a couple months later, she came back, and when she did, she came in with a guy, and she didn't explicitly say that it was her boyfriend, but from the way they were interacting and the way she was acting, it was pretty obvious that they were together. So I remember she came up to me when she first entered the store, and she was with her boyfriend, just started talking to me. And I was really confused why she would bring her boyfriend here and like bring him to me to like introduce him and shit. And I didn't realize this until later was because I think the reason she did it was because earlier, even though she had rejected me, there was another girl that was like, I guess like throwing herself at me while she was standing right next to me. And I don't know if I'm like looking too deep into this, but maybe like she felt she kind of felt a certain way after rejecting me, and then a new girl just shows up for me, and now she feels that she has to come back with her boyfriend to like try to like rub it in my face or something. And this was brutal, man, because it really it really stung, and it kind of like opened up some old wounds, because I thought that I had gotten over Ellie, but I hadn't, because she just came back and she was rubbing in my face that she has a new boyfriend. And this was just sad, man. Like it really ate away at me for a while. And I think that was the last time I ever saw her. Actually, no. I remember a year after that, it was actually around the time I quit working there. It was around like, I don't know, I want to say like September 2023, around that time. That was around the time that I quit working at the bookstore. I remember I saw her again. I was at Buffalo Wild Wings with my dad, and as I was walking out, she walked in, and we saw each other. And we had this like brief just conversation, and again it just started. I thought we were done, but she comes back, starts talking to me again, and just starts like opening my old wounds. And I just got to the point where I just felt like this girl was just like tormenting me, just like coming back like every couple months to a year to just like remind me that I'm a fucking loser, that couldn't get with her. And the big thing that this, I thought I had learned was, never ask out your coworkers. But unfortunately, later on, I did end up making this mistake again with another girl. I'll probably make a video about her also. But yeah, I just think that you should just never ever ask out your coworkers, or just never even just warm approach in general, because the whole idea behind warm approach is that like you ask out girls you already know in your like immediate social circles. But if you just stand back and think about it, like if these girls are in your social circle and they're not already interested in you, then that's pretty much already a rejection by default, because they just want to be friends with you. They don't actually like you. So it's like it's just like a false it's just a false avenue to go down, because if these girls were truly romantic options for you, then you'd already be together by now. You wouldn't have to try to turn a friend into a girlfriend. Like, that just never works out. You can't start out as friends and then become romantic. Like, that's just not how human relationships work out, at least from my experience. Because like when you first like meet a girl, like immediately within 1 second when she looks at you and she sees your your face, she'll immediately know if she likes you or not. So there's no point in trying to like win over a girl if she's already decided that she's not attracted to you. And she might still be like friends with you, right? But that's just what women do. Like, women keep men around them all the time. That's why you have the whole like beta orbiter meme, and they keep these men around so that they can just use them and make the men think that if they comply and do things for the girl, then the girl's gonna end up liking them. But that's just not true. It's it's brutal, but that's just how it is. That's just how women operate. And not only that, but there's just a lot of just like social consequences for failing a warm approach. And that's because you run into the potential of poisoning the well with all the other women. It's because like, women have, they have like this like social network, right? Where word spreads really fast between them, because like they love gossip. So like when a girl rejects you, everyone is going to know instantly. And the people that end up finding out about what you did and that you got rejected, like, you really don't want those people to be your coworkers or like people at your school or like family or friends. It's because like things are gonna like they're gonna start treating you differently now, because they know that you got rejected by this girl. So this just ends up just making your life 10 times harder just for no reason. That's why like I just don't recommend warm approach. It's a high risk, low reward option for men, and I don't recommend taking it. And I wish I had stopped there, but I was such a naive retard that I ended up doing this again later with another girl. So yeah, like moral of the story: don't ask out your coworkers. Don't be a retard like me. Learn from my mistake. Thanks for listening.